you love onions and you use them a lot in the kitchen, you really should be growing these perennial walking onions because they are delicious. They're quite versatile for a lot of dishes, and since they are perennial, they basically take care of themselves. Now, I really don't think this type of onion is going to completely replace any regular kind of onion that you use in the kitchen, but it could certainly expand your culinary options and give you another onion substitute to use for when you may not have any regular onions available. These are incredibly hardy in a wide range of climates from zones 3 through 10. We are in zone 5B here, and they do just fine when it gets down to 25 degrees below zero over the winter, and they are one of the first things to come up again in late winter, early spring when there's still some snow on the ground. So these may look a bit different from the type of onion that you're used to because they form these top sets, if I can get it to focus. So these are all bulbs that will grow into new plants if they find their way into the soil. This is why these are also called tree onions or top onions or even Medusa onions. That's my favorite one. So they are incredibly easy to grow and propagate. They will spread themselves very easily if you just do absolutely nothing at all. Those top sets will eventually get quite heavy and the plant will dry up in the fall and it will topple over. Those bulbs will all wind up in the soil and they'll grow new plants, and then those will eventually form top sets, and that's how they wind up walking all over your yard and spreading themselves easily. So that is the easiest way to let them propagate themselves. Now these larger plants here are already at least 2 years old. A couple of them may be already 3 years old at this point, but they have to be at least 2 years old before they start forming the top sets like that. Otherwise, they just start out as these little shoots down here, and these are all just from bulbs that I took off the top and spread around in the soil. And there have been a lot more than these, but we've actually been harvesting and eating them quite a bit this year. These are definitely one of my favorite additions to the garden. So these new little ones growing here at the bottom will not form any top sets this year, but if we let them go and don't harvest them, then they will next year. So these plants over here were from the first batch that we got from my brother-in-law. He just gave us 3 plants and we put them in the ground here, and they have actually multiplied off of the bulbs that are underground as well. So they can spread that way by multiplying, kind of cloning themselves off of those bulbs, and by forming these top sets. So if you want to manually spread them, like we don't really want these to get all over the place out here, so here's what we're going to do. We're just going to pop this off of here and grab these, and we'll just break these all apart, spread them around in the soil here where we're trying to get this new batch going. So those will work their way down into the mulch. We've got plenty of time for the weather, the rain and the snow and everything to work those down in there. That's exactly what I did last year, and all these new ones that have come up have just been off of those. So again, that is about the most work, quote work, that you will need to do to propagate these yourselves. They are very easy and do just fine on their own. So I went ahead and pulled one up here so you can just see what we're looking at. So this is the bulb that it forms underground. Definitely not nearly as big as a regular onion, but they will get quite a bit bigger than this. And these are quite hot down here in the base. They're a very, very hot onion. So this plant, since it is already a bit, this is at least 2 or 3 years old, these leaves are still pretty light and tender, but the main shoot at this point is not enjoyable to eat. It's still hollow, but it has become much more fibrous in there to build up the strength to hold up the bulbs at the top when they form, and also to transport the nutrients to form those bulbs. So it's really not enjoyable to eat the main shoot when they have already gotten this old. So that's why we like to just pull up the younger shoots like these, because you can just use these like green onions. And these also have the bulb at the base down there, which is also pretty hot again. But just by spreading around all of the bulbs from the top sets of these, you can get tons of those little onions coming up and use them like a green onion, a spring onion, and they're quite delicious. Now you can also eat, let's see, I'm sorry for the autofocus. You can also eat the bulbs that form at the top here. They are very delicious too. But since you can see how small they are, you can imagine they can be a bit of a pain to peel these. You know, it's like peeling garlic, except these are even smaller and the skin is even a little bit tougher on those to get off of them. So if you do want to use them, you know, you may just pop that off of there and use some of the biggest ones in your whatever you're cooking, and then the rest of the little ones you can just spread those around to get new ones for next year. So here are some good sized bulbs that you could use for that purpose, and they do actually get even bigger than this once the plants have really established themselves, and if they're healthy and getting lots of sun, you can find some sizable bulbs to use. And some of them will start growing a whole new little plant while they're still on the top set there. That's pretty cool. That's where the Medusa name comes from. And I should also mention that I have not had to water these plants even once this year. And of course we have also had quite a bit of rain, and we usually get a good amount of rain here, but we have all this mulch around them that keeps them nice and moist and happy. And they also never have any pest problems except for rabbits chomping off the shoots when they were still just getting started over here, but we didn't even really have to do anything with that. Just let them keep growing, and eventually they get tall enough and everything seems to just leave them alone. So they're very easy. We love having these. We can start using them in early March, which is just great, but we don't have to wait for our other onions that we're growing, or we don't have to buy them from the store as much. So there you go, perennial walking onions. If you didn't know about this fantastic low maintenance crop already, now you do. So thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you next time.